Welcome back to the Ingram Angle Special. I'm Raymond Arroyo. Today, the judge presiding over the George Floyd death trial limited evidence and refused to delay the trial or even move it out of Minneapolis for this reason.
I do not think that that would give the defendant any kind of a fair trial beyond what we are doing here today. I don't think there's any place in the state of Minnesota that has not been subjected to extreme amounts of publicity on this case.
What about other localities? The question is, can Derek Chauvin get a fair trial, at least based on location alone? The judge also ruled to allow some evidence from the 2019 arrest of George Floyd, where, according to the AP, Floyd swallowed drugs after police confronted him. So here's what isn't admissible: Floyd's emotional behavior during the 2019 arrest and comments about him being violent in the hospital following. This trial is a powder keg in Minneapolis and possibly across the nation. Joining me to discuss is Alan Dershowitz, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus, also host of the podcast, The Dersh Show. Alan, let's start with the judge refusing to change the venue out of Minneapolis. Can Chauvin get a fair trial there?
Absolutely not. It's a serious constitutional mistake, and the judge is focusing on the wrong issue, the issue of prejudice. What he should be focusing on is jurors are going to be frightened that if they render an acquittal or fail to convict on murder, there may very well be violence. Their own homes, their own stores, their own family may be affected. Not only is the thumb on the scale, but the elbow is on the scale. No juror should have to worry that if they acquit, there will be consequences to them outside of the courtroom. That's why this trial should be held in a rural area, far away from where there may be violence. It should be put off several months, and everything that the defendant might have known about the victim should be known to the jury. You have to see this case through the prism, through the eyes of the defendant. If the defendant knew that he was violent, if he knew he took drugs, then it's admissible. If he didn't know it, if it's just a fact, then it comes in on a different theory. And there's a whole other issue in the case. Let me tell you what I think the defense should be in this case if I were the defense lawyer. Okay. My defense would be this. Number one, the knee on the neck, although we now know it's wrong, was policy in Minneapolis. Not only that, it was used dozens and dozens of times and nobody ever died. So why did this person die? The defense would be not because of the knee on the neck, but because of his pre-existing conditions, his high blood pressure, his heart condition, the drugs in the body. That was the proximate cause, and the best proof of that is that the knee on the neck has been previously used without any fatalities.
Okay, I've got to get to this. One of the jurors had this to say about Black Lives Matter during questioning from the defense. Listen.
With respect to Black Lives Matter, you had a very favorable response, and you wrote, "I am black and my life matters."
It does.
Absolutely. Are you familiar with like the more organizational or political organization Black Lives Matter?
Not real familiar, no. Just know what I've seen and heard.
He made the cut and is on the jury, Professor. Would you have pushed to dismiss that juror?
Well, if I had a peremptory challenge, I probably would use it. I'm not sure there is a challenge for cause there. Look, many people in the country, black and white, generally support the concept of Black Lives Matter. And what he said is he's black and his life matters. Of course, that's pretty obvious. I think he gets a high grade for honesty. He didn't try to hide it. It's a hard question, and the question is, why didn't the defense use its peremptory? Do they have any peremptories? There should be extra peremptories in a case like this, where there's been massive publicity and massive pressure on the jury to convict. Remember, too, that this defendant has been overcharged. There's no second-degree murder case here at all. And I don't believe there is a third-degree murder case. Third-degree murder requires that you take action that endangers the life of others. And I think the plain reading of that statute means people other than the victim. This is a manslaughter case. But because of the political pressure, the very political Attorney General, Keith Ellison, upped the charges to murder because he didn't want to be charging for manslaughter because so many people in his community believe there was a murder here. So we have overcharging. We have charges that should never be brought. and it's going to be very, very difficult to get a fair trial.
Alan, thank you. I wanted to get to so much more. We'll do it next time. Thanks for being here.